So the title of this video, do you need men or do you just need money? Now, pretty much after this most recent Dubai trip, I feel like a switch has flipped in my head. Like I can feel, sorry, I'm like trying not to choke on my own spit. I can feel a marked shift in my consciousness, I guess you could say this time. Or for those of you familiar with both of these creators, you could say that I'm moving along as to be expected on the Shira 7 to Princella pipeline, in the sense that, like, up until now, I'm gonna use my Dubai trips as the concrete examples in this discussion, but I'm talking about, I guess, like my attitude towards or my relation towards men in general. I feel like I've shifted. I feel like I have leveled up to the point where, like, I'm no longer interested in the small gifts or the small little petty cash, like petty little bills or meals that these men can treat me to, right? Like I have ascended to a level where, just like you said, Misty, it probably has something to do with the fact that I'm finally slated to start my new job next week. So it's actually been finalized, right? The contract has been written up, and I wish I could say the name of the company, but I can't say that because I'm going live public right now. Although I might private this live later just for my membership. But yeah, like it probably has something to do with that. Everything is connected, as we know. So now that I have that security in the back of my head that, okay, I'm going to be good because I've secured my main source of income for the indefinite future after a long 6 months of searching in the trenches out in these really, really crazy, diabolical job hunting streets right now, which it is the wild, wild west out here. Like everyone who has recently been in the job search or they've been out of a job for the past 6 to 12 months. They've been searching, they have been reaching out to people and sending their CVs to places. We can all attest to pretty much the same experience of tomfoolery out here. Recruiters and companies ghosting on people, straight up ignoring your resume in the first place. Like you apply to things online and it feels like your application, all of your materials, your CV, your cover letters are just being sucked into the black hole of AI somewhere, like the AI funnel of the HR recruitment team of any given company, because that's how broken the job search system is these days. And yeah, like for me too, I had a couple of companies. I had one company that delayed my onboarding for 3 months and then eventually just ghosted altogether after pretty much like promising me the position. So this is before I interviewed for and I obtained the job that I'm going to be doing from next week. There was a different company that I applied for and the hiring manager loved me, but then there were structural changes at their organization prevented them from hiring me or bringing me on board for 3 months. And then when my recruitment agency that I interviewed through, when they reached out to them to try and push them to further my process along, they totally snapped on my recruiter, according to her. Like I've been having conversations with her this whole time, and she was like, yeah, they did not take kindly to us like pushing them to speed up the process, even though they were the ones that kept us waiting for 3 months. So that was really frustrating. But I do have a unique advantage being fully bilingual in the Japanese market. It's not an advantage in terms of salary, of course. Everyone knows that average salaries in Japan are much lower than what you can get in the US or somewhere. But on the flip side, living expenses are, I would say, lower in Tokyo than any other big city. Like compared to New York, for example, my rent is probably 1/3 the price of what a studio of this size and location in New York would cost, if that makes sense. Like my rent is around $800 USD, probably even less with the exchange rate. And I know that somewhere like New York City or even like Dubai, because I checked rental prices in Dubai for apartments because I've been going back and forth on whether or not I want to move there in the next few years. And yeah, you would need at least like $2,000 to get any sort of decent place for yourself in a city like New York and Dubai. Whereas in Tokyo, you can definitely save money. You can definitely find more affordable housing. But anyway, I'm getting off my point. So I think having a job definitely has something to do with the fact that now my attitude is shifting towards, okay, I really don't need men for much of, like, there's really not much that the average man can do for me, to put it bluntly. I still feel like this is an overall ascension in level for me though, because even back then, like when I had my previous job, before this 6 month in unemployment stint, I still was having fun and kind of playing the field using men to, you know, treat me to nice experiences, nice dinners, not shopping sprees, but like ask them to buy me something here and there, sure. Or use them for favors, like driving me to and from the airport. That was the kind of thing I could always expect from my dealings with men. And I was happy to do that, actually, up until this most recent Dubai trip, where I just abruptly shifted gears. It's like my mind leveled up. And even if I wanted to go back, I cannot convince myself to go back to dealing with like the average man just to get a free ride or some $20 meal out of him. Like it's just so it's not worth even an ounce of my energy. It's not an even exchange is what I'm getting at here. Not even close. From now on, they're gonna have to be coming with the big guns if they want to negotiate even an ounce of my time or my energy. And this is not out of nastiness or anything. Like I have nothing against men as long as you follow the law and you're not a horrible person. I respect all human beings, right? I respect all people that work honest, hardworking jobs. Yeah, 2022 or 2023 was the first time that I went. I've been having a ball going on dates with guys there, and this includes meeting them at events, like networking events. I would also meet a lot of them on Bumble, although this time, my most recent trip, I didn't even use Bumble. Like I didn't renew my VPN subscription because you need to have a VPN in order to access most of the dating sites in Dubai. Most of them are blocked there. Even WhatsApp video calls and like Skype calls are blocked. But yeah, this time around, I don't know why, like something inside me was just like, you don't need to use Bumble. Like let's just give it a rest. Because basically every time I went to Dubai, if I wanted to, I would never have to pay for a single meal or a single ride anywhere. So I'll give you a couple of examples of there's 3 ways in which I would come in contact with like guys that would help me out basically for nothing, literally nothing in return except like a smile and a thank you from me. You know, this is not like I never had to pretend. I mean, I had to pretend that I was interested in them. So I'm going to get to that part in a bit. Like I'm sick of even pretending that I'm interested in guys that I would never, under normal circumstances, like if you ask me who I'm actually interested in as a long-term mate, none of these guys even make the cut whatsoever. The only thing that I ever saw them for good as being good for from the beginning is how they could benefit me in terms of the services and the resources that they could provide. They don't know that, of course. So the game when it comes to dealing with men or when it comes to using men to help you out is that you do have to like feed into their delusions a little bit by talking to them in a way that you don't even have to like you don't have to give them overly obvious or aggressive cues that you're open to them or anything, but you know, just the normal thing like smiling and being feminine, being playful, like not being a bitch when you're in front of them, but you can be a bitch later after you've already gotten what you needed out of them. Like you can block them and it doesn't matter because there's always 100 more lined up. But yeah, so I'll give you examples of 3 ways that I would come across guys that would pretty much just offer services, food, offer to do things for me in exchange for being able to be in my presence. So the first way is through literally bumping into them like out in public, out on the street. One of the guys that actually I actually really miss this kid because I think that he's actually a really good one. So one of the first people that I connected with on my first trip to Dubai was a Uber driver. So this kid was, I think I was 33. No, I was 34 at the time and he was 27. So I think he's like 28 now. So he's from Egypt and he works in Dubai as an Uber driver. And I guess, you know, once I got into his Uber, I'm trying to remember the first time. I think it was like late at night. I was I was like going back from no. I needed to go to this networking event and it was the time when Dubai had those crazy floods. Do you remember? My flight got delayed by a day, so I was kind of like freaking out, but in the end everything worked out and I was able to get on the next flight the next day and I was able to make it in time to my networking event. But you know, in true me fashion, I like miscalculated how far away the event was from my hotel. And also my hotel during that stay was surrounded by water from the flood still. So I called this Uber and then he was taking a while to get to my hotel. So I was kind of like, I'm always like very gracious and very understanding to service workers, even if they're late, even if they get my order wrong or whatever. Like it's not that serious to me. I just politely ask for people to fix my order, or like in this case this guy was 10 minutes late, so I politely asked him, hey, when do you think you're going to be here, because I have to be somewhere at like 9 p.m. It just struck me like how accommodating he was. I mean, mostly everyone in Dubai is super nice and helpful, and the most of the people that work in the service professions, drivers, waiters. What are those people that stand in front of like hotels and clubs and stuff? Not bouncers, but like, the people that let other people in to certain venues. All of those people, I have nothing but the utmost respect, and I would never do something like entitled in front of them, right? But yeah, in this case, so I was just struck by how this Uber driver, I was messaging him. He was so accommodating and nice to me, and he kept saying like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna get there on time. I really apologize. It's just that there's a lot of water still around your hotel, so I'm trying to find a route that I can get to you, blah blah blah." So already I have like a really good impression of him. And then once he arrives, I'm like, wow, it's like he's actually a pretty young, hip looking, handsome dude. Not my type, but and obviously not, not in the age range that I personally am interested in for a romantic relationship or anything like that. But he was very like young and cool. And he wasn't like creepy at all, right? He was very professional, but then at the same time, I think he was like also kind of interested in me because I look different from most people. I'm different from most of the locals in Dubai. Like even most of the Asians are from the Philippines or Southeast Asia. So I guess I was one of the first East Asian girls that he ever met. So yeah, he asked for my number and he was like, "Oh, you can like call me anytime if you need a ride." 27-year-old kid from Egypt came to Dubai originally on one of those backbreaking construction working contracts, transitioned into becoming an Uber driver in his second or third year. And then, yeah, we kept in contact. And he basically, like, this was not a result of any prompting or seduction, like conscious seduction on my side. I think this kid just liked the way that I looked, And he even told me, he was like, "I want an Asian girlfriend." So it's funny because like I would always meet up with him later on, like every time that I went to Dubai. And I would like check in with him about, okay, so how's your dating life? And he would tell me that, "Oh, like I met this Filipino girl at a gas station and I was interested in her, but then she turned out to have a boyfriend, so I backed off." And then I would tell him, "Why did you back off? If she's not married, then she's single." We kind of developed this truly, like, in my mind, big sister, younger brother dynamic. And he was one of the few, I don't want to say like it was the golden age of my Dubai misadventures, but he was definitely one of the really, I guess, lucky characters that I ran into on one of my first trips because I was able to basically use him as my personal chauffeur. From that point on, he offered to me, right? Like I didn't prompt him for anything, but before I stepped out of the car on that first trip that he brought me to, the networking event, that was through the app, right? Like I just happened to connect with him as a driver. And then he was like, "Okay, can I take your personal number if you don't mind? Or here's my personal number. You don't have to go through the Uber app. Like you can just call me and I'll come pick you up if I'm free." Or like, I would text with him throughout my trip, so I would know which days that he was on duty and which ones that he was either off, or I'm not sure exactly how his shifts work, but I think there were certain times where he was technically on shift, but he doesn't have to take any rides other than the ones that he manually accepts from the app. I think that's how it worked. So yeah, basically this kid was like putting his livelihood and his job on the line in order to go out of his way to be able to spend time with me. And like he knew that the only way that the value proposition that he, in his position as a 27-year-old Uber driver in Dubai, so this is not someone that is rolling in the dough, but he knew intrinsically that, okay, the only viable value proposition that I can give this girl who I find like super attractive, and female attractiveness on its own has a lot of value in society. So the only value proposition I can give her, my best bet is to just offer her rides, like free rides. And so that's what he did. And I would literally call him at like 3 in the morning from the club. Like there was one time where I went out to a networking event and then we all ended up at the Armani Hotel Club afterwards, just me and a couple of other girls. And then we decided to call it a night at around 2 or 3 a.m. So I literally called this kid and I was like, "Hey, I'm so sorry to wake you up. Do you think you can come swing by the Armani Hotel and bring me back to my place?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem. Like just give me 30 minutes. I'll be right there." And he was asleep, This is 3 in the morning. But he told me, "You can call me anytime and I'm gonna basically make myself available for you." So there were other instances where like basically for the next 2 or 3 trips to Dubai, I would always like, I wouldn't hit him up for every single ride that I needed, obviously. Like I'm not in the business of completely exploiting and abusing people, not unless they deserve it, which some men do deserve that. But the ones that deserve it are the ones that have strong boundaries up for themselves. They would not let themselves be used to that extent by a woman. I mean, I guess unless she was like out of this world, ethereally beautiful to the point where she had him in a trance. But anyway, so I would ask this kid like from time to time to bring me to places. And let me see if I actually have pictures, because I asked him to bring me to the Maidan Bridge once because I wanted to take pictures there. That was after I went to Oral Sky Pool, and then we got some pretty nice pictures. He took some of me, I took some of him. You guys know the Maidan Bridge, this one. It's a very viral location in Dubai on social media, and sorry, there's a glare, but they have the blue lights on top of the bridge, and it's like wavy. It looks like the electronic, sound waves of when you play music on your MP3 player or whatever. And this is the kid. Like I took pictures of him too. I was like, hey, now it's your turn, So that was one of the guys that I met just by chance, like out in the wild. I was able to pull, so to speak, just by my looks, my presence, and my aura alone. I was so sad because I don't remember exactly, but like sometime last year, he told me that he no longer lived in Dubai because I think that he had some complications with his employer, like they weren't paying him or something. I remember the last time that I saw him, I invited him up to my hotel room to eat pizza in the middle of the day. Like we were literally on that older sister, younger brother tip. And it was such a wholesome relationship to me, and he never acted crazy or creepy or out of pocket. And we would just go on cheap dates, right? Because like I obviously don't expect a 27-year-old Uber driver from Egypt who's barely making ends meet on his own. I'm not going to expect him to take me to like a 5-star restaurant or anything. So I would just go along for the ride with him, like during the nights that he was free or that business was slow. He would use his work car. He would use the car from Uber to drive me around. So that's why I'm saying, like, when you talk about pretty privilege, there are levels to this thing. Like, have you ever had a guy put his entire livelihood in jeopardy just so that he could be around you and soak up your essence a little bit more? And then eventually, like, yeah, he was having problems with his company, and he said that they weren't paying him on time, so they were like withholding his paycheck. And I remember the last time I saw him, he was quite stressed out about this. And I would bring little souvenirs from Japan for him as well, as a thank you for driving me around to places. But yeah, we would go out for pizza, Starbucks, like cheap little dates that he could afford. And then eventually he told me that he had to go back to Egypt because he couldn't afford to stay in Dubai anymore. He didn't say it all like that with so much detail, but that's what was implied. So I think he's back in Egypt now. I knew that it couldn't last forever, but I'm kind of sad because it's the end of an era as far as I'm concerned. Because I definitely met with him on at least 3 trips that I took to Dubai. And I knew that it wasn't going to last forever, even if he never moved back to Egypt, like things can change, he could get into a relationship or I could have gotten into a relationship, and then it would have been weird at that point for us to keep hanging out. But no, that was a fun little memory. That was one of the better dudes that I had in my simp army. I'm trying to think of a different term because I feel like simp army is kind of mean. Like I'm not trying to be mean, okay? I'm just a girl out here trying to get in where she fits in. And if men want to give me favors just because I'm cute, then who am I to refuse them? Because, they're getting value out of it too. Trust and believe. They wouldn't be throwing themselves at me or trying to prove that they can add value to my life unless they're getting something out of it too. So, who am I to say no if it saves me a couple of bucks here and there? Do you know how much money it would have cost me if I had to go through, I don't know, some official photo shoot agency, or if I had to buy some sort of photo package in order to get those pictures on the Maidan Bridge? Like they have entire businesses centered around those things in Dubai. There's a flying dress photo shoot place that I was looking into. I really want to do that still, but their packages are like 3,000, 5,000 dirhams. And I'm like, why would I do that when I have this Uber driver in the back of my pocket? And he drove a Tesla too. His car was like one of the few Uber Teslas that I saw. I don't think technically he was supposed to use that car to drive around hot little Asian girls that he met that were on vacation to Dubai. I don't think it was meant to be used for, joyrides and driving me around to be my personal chauffeur and tour guide against the Dubai nightline. But, who am I to say anything? He has his own free will, and that was his choice. So I'm just here to reap the benefits, right? Look at this. That was well worth the effort that I had to put into maintaining that relationship because these pictures are fire. And I was not about to spend like 5,000 dirhams of my own money just to get some pictures against a social media viral backdrop. And again, like I took pictures of him too, so I made sure that it was reciprocal in some way. But yeah, this was probably the purest connection that I had, because this guy, like I'm telling you, truly, truly my spiritual little brother. It's just crazy how life is. This is what happens when you travel. You'll meet people, you'll make connections that you can never, like your mind could never fathom happening unless you actually put yourself out there. And in a place that is as safe as Dubai, you can, obviously you still have to exercise caution, but if you have half a brain cell and if you have like discernment, if you're used to navigating the world as an attractive woman, then you'll be just fine. You'll be able to tell the fakers and the users from the guys that genuinely just want to help. But yeah, so another incident in which I basically just bumped into it was another cab driver actually out of the blue. So it was last year, New Year's Eve. I was supposed to go to Armani Hotel or somewhere, one of the fancy hotels for the New Year's Eve celebration, because one of the guys that I matched with on Bumble had like all these extra tickets to watch the fireworks from one of the hotels. And those tickets are crazy expensive. So the fact that he had so many free tickets was an indication of the level of spending that him and his group were used to. But anyway, long story short, I was not able to make it because there were like patrol officers. There were people stationed outside. New Year's Eve is pandemonium in Dubai, by the way, especially in downtown, because everyone is there for the same reason. They want to see the Burj Khalifa fireworks. So they were like, yeah, the roads were sectioned off in a way that you could not pass unless you had physical passes, like tickets to the venues that were hosting viewings of the fireworks show. I hadn't met up with this guy beforehand on Bumble. We just matched, and then he was like, hey, do you want to come with me and my crew to watch the fireworks from the hotel here? And he sent me a picture of his extra passes, right? But they told me, as I was trying to get through, they told me that a picture was not good enough. I had to have the actual pass in my hand. So because of that, I wasn't able to watch the fireworks from a VIP seat. But what I was able to do was I was able to walk around outside like everyone else. And I'm not kidding you, this guy, this cab driver, literally stopped and like basically hollered at me. So this guy was a lot creepier than my usual Uber driver Bay. We'll call him Uber driver Bay. And he was not in Dubai anymore at this point. I know, so sad, because I called him up. I hit him up when I landed last year for New Year's Eve, and he was like, hey, yeah, just so you know, I don't live there anymore. I'm back in Egypt now. So I was like, oh man, what a bummer. But this other cab driver basically like kind of motioned to me from outside his window, because I was walking out on the street, right? And everyone was walking. Like there was huge crowds, but I stand out because I'm an East Asian girl, right? So the cab driver was like, hey, where are you going? Like, do you need a ride? And I was like, oh, I'm just trying to get to such and such hotel. I think it was Armani Hotel. Yeah. So then he was like, I can take you there, you know, free of charge. You don't have to pay anything. And it was New Year's Eve, right? So it was very crowded and traffic jam congested until next Tuesday. I don't even know how this guy planned to get me from point A to point B. I think he just wanted, again, he saw an opportunity and he decided to shoot his shot to be able to spend like however many minutes or the hour I think that we spent together in his car. And he was like, yeah, you know, let me drive you. Don't worry about the charge. Like, it's New Year's Eve and everyone is just trying to inch their way along the highway here. So yeah, I get in the car. He's a cab driver. Okay, so if anything goes left, you know, I can just call the police or whatever. But honestly, Dubai is very safe, especially if you're in a crowded environment like we all were that night. So he was like, do you want to eat anything? Like, we can go stop by a fast food stand. And I was like, actually, yeah. Because at that point, I had just landed that morning. So I actually didn't eat anything. This is another thing that I try to take advantage of every time I go to Dubai or every time I travel, really. I try to reset my eating clock. Because when I stay in Tokyo, I feel like, I don't know, it's just that much harder for me to fast. But whenever I travel, I feel like there's just so much stuff going on and I'm so distracted by the logistics of traveling that it enables me to at least fast for 12 hours or something, which is enough for me to get rid of some bloating and feel better. So anyway, I actually hadn't eaten that whole day and it was like 11:30 p.m., right? We're all waiting for the countdown to happen for New Year's. So I'm like, yeah, actually I could go for chicken shawarma right now, you know? When you're in Dubai, when you're in the UAE, do as the Emiratis do. Or when you're in the Middle East, when in doubt, you eat a shawarma. So he was like, okay, say less. And yeah, he pulled up to just a local shawarma joint. I don't think it could have cost more than 12 dirhams, but he got me shawarma, and then he got me one of those like lemongrass drinks that I also like. I don't know what it's called, but it's like lemongrass, lemonade type of flavor. And of course he was like, I'll treat you. It's my treat. And I basically just spent New Year's Eve, not all of New Year's Eve. So before the fireworks actually started, I, left his car and I went solo again to do my own thing. But for about an hour there, he basically like bought my time and bought my company to eat a quick meal with him in his car. And yeah, that was another example of just a guy literally stopping me outside out of the blue on the street based on aura alone. The second way that I used to meet men or have men do favors for me is by going to networking events, right? This is the one that okay, so I am a big fan of like business type networking events, things that you can find related to your industry. In my case, AI, or just anything related to IT really, or loosely in that arena. Even if I don't stay for the entire event, like I'll show up. I'll try to look at the invite list if I can, who's already RSVP'd. And if there seem to be like a decent amount of men that, like business type men, they don't necessarily have to be rich, but the fact that they're like going out of their way to network and go to events in their industry, it shows me that they're about something, right? And they're at least trying to progress in some way in their lives. They're not just like your typical 9 to 5 employee that just gets up, goes to work, clocks in, eats lunch, works some more, clocks out, comes home and sleeps, and repeats the cycle all over again until the day that he dies. Like that's what the majority of men do, right? Which again, I am not knocking the hustle. I mean, if that's the best that you can do in this life, then everyone is entitled to live a dignified life, but it's just not what I'm looking for in terms of actual romantic interest. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. So, yeah, the second way would be to go to networking events. So, like every time, again, we're just going to use my trips to Dubai as a case study. So, I would always make sure that I found at least 2 or 3 business events, usually through Meetup. Preferably, like moving forward this year, I'm really going to make a more concerted effort to attend more exclusive type events, like ones that are thrown by actual clubs that you need memberships to, which is a bit of a challenge because obviously the boundary there that you have to break through is that you typically need to at least befriend a member, because a lot of these clubs, they're not going to allow you into their functions or their events unless you are connected to the community somehow, whether that means you are a directly paying member, or some clubs here in Tokyo, like for example, the ACCJ, American Chamber of Commerce. What's the other C for? American Chamber of Commerce, Japan, ACCJ. They allow you to go to events, but you have to be accompanied by a member. So that's my next social climbing challenge, if you will, for the rest of this year, because free events are a good place to start, but it's still like it's a mixed bag, right? Because you never know. When you go to more exclusive events, you can trust that a lot of the vetting for the quality of individual that's going to be there, a lot of that is done already by the filtering process of the membership organization itself, if that makes sense, right? Because not everyone can just join these groups. Some of them you have to get like voted in, or you have to have referrals from at least 2 members that are already pre-existing in the group. You guys know how it works. But yeah, because I don't have roots in Dubai or anything, I started off by just going to the freely advertised events on places like Meetup or Eventbrite. I would also, on occasion, I would sign up for like dating or discreet dating events. There are 2 organizations in particular. So one of them organized like discreet dating events, right? And then another one hosts singles nights. I think from this point on, I'm not going to even bother with any type of dating events, any event that is explicitly like crafted around the purpose of finding a date or finding love. I don't think that it does you any favors as a so-called high value woman or as an attractive woman to be there, because okay, the default assumption of you going out of your way as a woman to attend events that are specifically created for the purpose of like meeting a romantic connection is that it gives off, I'm sorry, but, and I'm speaking on, I'm speaking from past experience too. I'm not just like talking down. Please don't get it twisted. Please don't get offended that like if you attend these types of events, I'm not talking down on you, but I'm just saying like think about it in terms of supply and demand. Who are the ones in the dating market looking for a date? It's the guys that are looking for dates, right? Like they are the ones that are pursuing women. They are the ones that are trying to attract the most beautiful, the most high value, whatever your criteria is. They are trying to attract the best women that they can by their own whatever they built in their life, whether it be their money or their status. So that's also, if you think of it from the masculine feminine dynamic angle, that checks out. Like the masculine is the one that pursues, the masculine is the one that's looking for a date. The feminine, we are like presenting ourselves as a flower or I hate to say it this way, but we're basically presenting ourselves as the product, right? Like I don't bring anything to the table, I am the table. And the men are the ones that express interest in any given lady that they want to take out on a date. So if you as a woman, especially if you're like extremely attractive and high value and sought after, if you attend a singles event, for example, it sends off desperate messaging, no matter which way that you look at it. Even if you're not coming at it from a desperate angle, like for me, I wasn't desperate for a date, obviously. Like I don't need to go to an event necessarily for a date. I already get like hundreds of guys lined up in a queue in my Bumble inbox on any given Tuesday. But I prefer to meet people in person. So I thought that, okay, why don't I just go to these singles events? I mean, it couldn't hurt, right? And at the very least, I do like to socialize with people, so I have no problem as far as the socialization aspect of it. But I realized after attending a few of these singles events, I realized that no matter how much you approach it from the angle of I'm just showing up to see what's out there and, just to mingle with people, the guys have a different idea of you, no matter what your actual feelings are inside. Just by you showing up at a dating event, it signals to them subconsciously that, oh, this girl is like desperate or this girl is looking for me, right? Because we all know that girls are not the ones, like, especially if you're attractive, you're not the one that has to look for a date. You can have a date, you can have a boyfriend, you can get married anytime that you want. The reason that most women are not married is because they are not, they're not satisfied with the quality of the majority of men that approach them. Good point. Yeah. So it's like, if you're the prize that's being sought after, what kind of sense does it make that you would go out of your way to bring yourself to an event that is largely catered towards men that are desperate for dates? You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to I'm not trying to offend anyone or insult anyone by calling them desperate, but this is the dynamics of a dating event or a singles speed dating event, one of the types of events that I went to. And I realized very quickly that, oh, this is like no place for a girl like me. Just by me being here, it's kind of like cognitive dissonance, right? Like, okay, they see my presentation, they see that I'm like super attractive, I'm super, successful in my own right. Like I can hold down a job. It's been a rough 6 months because I had an issue at my previous job that was really not something to take lightly, but I'm not a victim, right? So I don't feel sorry for myself. I just put my head down and did whatever I had to do to get a new job. So now I feel like, okay, I have my old pep in my step back that I'm like independent. I can take care of myself, but I also am not going to, because of that, I'm not going to accept anything less from a guy than what I can already provide for myself. So yeah, it's like cognitive dissonance. It doesn't make sense that somebody like me would go out of my way and even like pay money to go to a speed dating event. That's for guys that are desperate to meet girls. Guys are the ones that have issues meeting girls in their day-to-day life, right? Like they're the ones that feel like, okay, I don't have any, I don't have the social circle, or I don't have the network, or I don't have the means, I don't have the opportunity to meet as many women as I want to, or even the quality of women that I want to. So that's why the guys are going out of their way to seek all these different avenues like dating apps and speeding dating events in order to try to find a woman to take out. But for the really, really high quality woman, she should not even be accessible to the average guy, right? Completely agree. I went to a few in my early 20s. The men there weren't the best. Exactly. So again, I'll tell you about, okay, so I think the reason that I went to so many, and when I say so many, I mean maybe like 3 in total, but I think what happened is that the first one that I went to actually resulted in a date with a pretty high value, like high caliber man, as would be defined by Dubai standards. So he was the director of finance at some big global firm. I don't know exactly what company he worked at, but it's funny because I actually matched with this guy on The League, which is an elite dating app. You have to get voted in. It's dry. I don't recommend it, but I matched with this guy on The League because I knew that I was going to be going to Dubai soon. And most of the members on there are from Dubai or the UAE. So I don't know if that's like, I would be interested to see a demographic breakdown of the users on The League. But yeah, I matched with this guy. And then the dating event that I went to, I'm not even kidding you. Like I was sitting facing the entrance. It was outside next to the Burj Khalifa at some really nice restaurant. And then the first guy that walked in, it was the guy that I matched with on The League. And I was like, oh my God, this is so funny because it's literally as if I put an order in on Amazon Prime for this guy. And then he walked into my reality because I happened to, like, once I landed in Dubai, that was kind of the portal that I had to pass through. This is what happens when you travel. You know, if you feel like your manifestations are stagnant or you're not really getting any luck, I'm telling you, go travel. Go find the place that really clicks with you, and you will have just random things happen to you out of thin air. But yeah, no, this guy, he walked in and then I literally, like, okay, I'm sure that you're not supposed to do this because you're supposed to play coy, but I did not care because I was in vacation mode and I was not taking anybody like seriously anyway. I just wanted a outlet to mingle with people. So he like walked up to me and introduced himself and I was like, "Hey, did we just match on The League? Like, don't you recognize me?" And I showed him his picture on the app and then we both had a really good laugh about that. And he actually invited me to lunch the next day. So I went to lunch with him and then he, after lunch, like he took, I think he wanted to show off his apartment to me because he lives in Address Hotel Apartments, which overlooks the entire like Burj Khalifa. Like that's one of the most coveted residences that you can think of in Dubai is Address Residences. It's very, very like high end. It's part of like Address Hotels, right? It's just on the other side. So you get your own housekeeping and everything. And his balcony had like the money shot view of the Burj Khalifa and the bridge and the fireworks show. So I think he wanted to show off to me after lunch. He invited me back to his place for tea. Obviously, like it was the middle of the day and I don't recommend beginners or like naive girls to do what I do because I don't want to be responsible for any of you disappearing. But when your vetting skills are as good as mine, you can take liberties on certain occasions, such as going back to a guy's really nice apartment in the middle of the day. Okay. After lunch, this guy was yeah, like very, very respectable, but still kind of on the young side. And he also had experience living in Japan for 4 years before he went to Dubai. So he was like, how old was he? 41 at the time that I met him. And then we never talked again after that meeting. But I think because of my first foray going into an in-person dating event resulted in kind of like a really, really unusual, unexpected encounter with an actual high caliber guy, huge salary and career in Dubai. I think that gave me like a false idea of the type of results that I could expect in general from dating events. But of course, every single event that I went to thereafter never resulted in another date or another encounter with a guy that was quite that high value. So like for example, the most recent date that I went on, not date, the most recent event that I went to this time was a singles mingling event. And if this was me like last year, anytime I go to Dubai, I can 100%, if I wanted to, I could make sure that I never had to pay for a single meal during my entire stay. Like if I wanted to, I could make sure that every single meal and every trip to any destination that I wanted to go to was taken care of by a guy, right? That is something that I can say confidently with my whole chest because I've done it before and I have real results. If I want to, I can always get a guy to give me a ride somewhere, pick me up from the airport, bring me to the airport, you know, pay for our lunch together if he picks me up from the airport, or pay for my dinner on my last night before he brings me to the airport. And then every other day, every other meal in between, I can always catch a guy, whether it's on Bumble or from a meetup event. That's something that I know, like with 100% certainty, I have the ability to do. But for the first time though, during this trip in particular, and I think it's just like, again, it has to do with where I am in my life overall at this point. I was just so over it. Like, I was over the idea of having to jump and perform like a circus monkey for a guy just so that I can get my meal comped. You know, at this point, I preferred my own company. I preferred to spend a little bit of my own money and to be able to sit in solitude with myself and just enjoy my own peace and quiet. That was way more valuable to me than like the 100 dirhams that I would have saved that day if I had left it up to a guy. Because, like, make no mistake, there's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. So I would have had to pay one way or another. And usually it's with my energy, you know, it's with my warmth and my giggliness, like all the things that guys love about being in my vicinity when they have the honor of, you know, being in my presence. But it's like, I just felt this time that, okay, my energy is worth so way more than this. Like, why do I need to entertain these subpar guys? And again, I'm not trying to insult anyone, but like most of these guys are not even at the level of the Burj Khalifa apartment guy. You know, that was kind of a fluke, I feel like. That was just like beginner's luck. Your title really caught my attention. I don't think I'd still be with my boyfriend if it wasn't for the fact that I'm financially unable to. I'm a PhD student and my stipend is low. Yeah, and thank you for being real, Shrewd. That's a real anecdote, you know? Thanks for being honest about your situation. And it's totally, I don't think there's anything wrong with it either. Like, men are transactional in relationships. So as long as it's not like you're stealing from him or anything. I asked myself the same question, do I need him or do I need the resources? I mean, he is the resources, right? Like, what do they bring besides their resources? Most men, 99.99% of men, if you weren't hard up in some way for cash or resources, or like, you know, at this stage in your life, if you didn't view somebody being able to buy food and stuff for you as a plus in your life, then what did they really bring? What can they really offer? Yes, I pay him rent, but it's much lower than I would if it was by myself. Haha. Girl, I don't know why you're paying any rent. You should be paying zero rent. Or else at that point, he's just a roommate. But no, let me get back to, so this time around, right? I went to a singles mingling event and there was at least two guys, probably more, that I know for a fact. There was this one guy that I know for a fact, if I had given him any indication of me like being down to hang out more or to meet up outside of the event, he would have been there in a heartbeat. Okay, so this guy was, so he was like a typical, you know, business bro, like UK business bro, just moved to Dubai within the last year. And then he led with the fact that he was like, I work at PricewaterhouseCoopers, blah, blah. Nobody cares what you work, dude. Like, my company that I'm going to start working for next week blows PricewaterhouseCoopers out of the water. Okay, please. But anyway, so he led with that. And of course, I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll let you have it. I let them have their little victories in life, you know, because when you reach like higher levels of pretty privilege and just higher society, or I don't know how to describe it. Like, when you reach a higher level in general, you start to feel bad almost at some point. Like, I could shit on you right now. I could totally flex on you, but why would I even do that? I'm not a mean-hearted person like that. So if a guy wants to walk up at me at an event with his little Armani exchange suit and he was wearing like an Armani exchange necklace, I'm like, oh my God, are you for real? But if that's all they have to their name and if that's the only thing in their life that they can be proud of at the moment, like, who am I to take that away from them? You know, I just feel like it's not fair almost at this point because like my face card alone invalidates your entire existence. I told you I was not going to have any chill this Leo season, okay? If you don't like it, you can leave. But the girls that get it, get it. Like, my presence alone, even if I was homeless, which like technically I was jobless still during my last Dubai trip. I went kind of as like a semi-celebration of me getting this new job, but like technically I am still jobless until next Wednesday when I start my new job, right? So it's like, even me in my jobless state, you could say that the chips are kind of down for me at this point in my life. Even me in this state is like, I'm shitting on you just by being here, just with my aura, just with my face card alone. Like, my sweaty ass, you know, it was like 40 degrees Celsius in Dubai. I'm sweating and my hair is frizzy. So like, even like this one look from me, I don't even have to say anything. All I do is I sit there at the table looking pretty, and you cannot compete as an average Joe type of guy with a 9 to 5. I don't care that you work at PricewaterhouseCoopers, whatever salary band you happen to be on, it's not enough. Like, you're not going to be able to impress me. Can you buy me a Lamborghini right this instant? If no, then what can you possibly offer me? Like, okay, a 5-star meal or yeah. So we were talking about about like, I was just asking him, how are you getting settled in? Because I also want to move to Dubai. So I just wanted to, because they also like to ask you, the guys like to ask you at these events, they're like, oh, so what are you looking for? That's another thing. That's another reason why I'm just like, I don't even want to deal with this anymore. Because if you go to those events, then you can't even be mad if they ask you that question, right? But you see how nonsensical it is, though, that you're walking up to the most attractive girl in the room and you're asking her what she's looking for. No, I think you're looking for me, dude. Like, you're the one that's looking for me. But I understand why they ask it, because I'm the one that showed up at the place. So I'm signaling just by me attending that, yeah, I guess I am looking for something, right? That's why I don't think that hot girls should go that route. Don't go to any dating events or any explicit, like any event that explicitly is created for the purpose of meeting romantic prospects. Unless you're going through like some paid matchmaking service, which I wouldn't know about because I'm not at that level yet. But I feel like the only way it works is if it's like an elite matchmaking service where the men have to pay top dollar in order to access the women in that particular database. I feel like that's the only place that it makes sense, because it's already, by nature of the men having to pay a premium, they already know what it is, like they're paying for the quality that they want. Whereas these like free open events, it wasn't free. It had, there was like a different attendance fee for women and men, but these open events that anybody can apply to, no, it's not it. What would you recommend? I've tried dating apps and these singles events with no luck. Yeah, so I'm embarking on my own journey about this for the rest of the remaining 6 months in this year. I have a video up in my membership about how I use meetups to kind of like discreetly meet men. I always think it's better to go to an event that is, the main purpose of the event is either a hobby or a industry, like business related thing. So the main purpose should not be to meet people of the opposite sex. It should be centered around some other topic. That way there's not pressure on anyone. It takes away the ability for the men there to try to ask you, oh, what are you looking for? Or to try to place you in the one down position. You know how they try to play psychological mind games to make you feel like, oh, but you're here just like me, so we're equal. No, we're not. You're the desperate one. I could go outside and catch a dick anytime that I want to. Okay. Like, sorry for the crude expression, but women do not have to deal with a scarcity of romantic prospects or dating prospects, or even sex. We don't have scarcity in that regard the same way that guys do. But anyway, so this guy that I was talking to at the singles mingling, the speed dating event, he was like, yeah, I was asking him, I was just making small talk about how he was settling into Dubai. And I was talking to him about, I was basically trying to, like, when I sense that guys are trying to be too direct about their line of questioning, like when they start to ask me, oh, what are you looking for in a mate? I basically like divert the entire conversation and I don't even let them go down that road, because you're not about to gaslight me or try to turn the tables on me as if I'm the one here looking for something, mister. I think you're the one that came to my table. But yeah, so I always divert the conversation towards just business, really. So I was telling him about how, oh yeah, I'm going to meetups, like I'm just going to networking events because I'm trying to build up my contact list here so that I can position myself for a transition, hopefully at some time in the near future. It would be nice if I could get a good job here before I move. And he was like, oh yeah, that's a good strategy, blah blah. And then I think at one point I was asking him about his hobbies, like what he likes to do, and he was listing these semi-rich activities. He was like, oh, I recently just got into golfing, whatever. I think this guy was younger than me, like maybe early 30s. That's another reason why I'm not going to these events anymore, because the singles events, the romantic events, are always filled with younger guys. This is another added layer of annoyance for me, honestly. Like, the fact that I look so young, they always assume that I'm the same age as them, like 25 or 23 even. Of course, I'm not complaining about looking younger than I am, but I don't want to, it's just annoying because like they come at you with the same energy that they would to an actual 25-year-old girl. I'm not 25 though, I'm 35. Like, I'm a grown-ass woman, and it's going to take a lot more than that to impress me, and a lot of times I feel like they're just so like behind, they're so developmentally behind in their social skills that it feels like I'm babysitting them in the conversation. And I don't have time for that, like, again, at the end of the day, what am I being compensated for all of this, for all of the energy that I'm expending here? Why am I even here if I'm not getting paid? That's basically what it comes down to for me. But yeah, so this guy was mentioning how he was getting into golfing and stuff, and I was like, oh, I've never been golfing before, like I kind of went into like my automatic flirty persona. But then he was like, oh, well, I could take you sometime if you wanted to. And the moment he said that, I swear, some sort of flame, some switch just completely switched off in me. And I was like, wait a minute. I don't want to go golfing with you. If I were to go golfing, I would take myself golfing, first of all, and I would just pay the little $100 or whatever fee that they require because I can pull better than you on a golf course. You got to think about everything in terms of strategy because that's the world we live in, right? So just think about this. Like if I wanted to play into the whole, oh, I'm so innocent, I'm so inexperienced, I never went golfing before, you could be the big strong man that could impress me by taking me out golfing on this wonderful little summer trip that I took for myself to Dubai. Like I totally could have done that and he would 100% have arranged to pick me up the next day, take me out for lunch, take me out for a golfing excursion, and I would have gotten an entire day's itinerary out of that for free. But this time I was like, the moment that he was like, I could see the flicker in his eyes of excitement that, oh my God, wait, so if I offered to take her golfing, she might go for it. Like I might be able to spend more time with her. The moment that I saw that in his eyes, I was like, wait a minute. No, this is a false illusion of resources or what's it called? Not a catfish, but it's a false presentation of like the benefits that I could gain from this situation. Because if you think about it, okay, so if I accept this guy's invitation or if I go along with the conversation and I manipulate him into inviting me for a day of golfing with him, I could get benefits. Like, okay, I would get all my food paid for. He would probably pick me up and drop me off because I don't go out with any men anyways, unless they can provide transportation both to and from the venue. So if I went for it, I would get free food, I would get free transportation, I would get a free golf experience, which counts for something, because it's true. I've never been golfing before. But then I'm like, okay, but what would I have to give in return for this day of festivities though? I would have to pretend that I'm interested in him, which I'm not. I would have to pretend I'm somewhat attracted to him, or we don't even have to pretend that we're attracted to them. We just have to pretend that we're not repulsed by them, right? Which that in itself is a tall order. Like again, I'm not trying to be mean, but for 99.99% of men, it's a matter of me pretending to not be repulsed by them. It's not even like we haven't even gotten to the level of feigning attraction. I have to be at least feeling neutrally about you. You have to register on my radar as neutral in terms of your attractiveness level if I'm going to even pretend to be attracted to you. Anything other than that, which is 99% of men, I'm more than likely just hanging on by a thread, like hoping that you don't see the disgust in my eyes, because I would never touch or a dude like you can never touch me, even in a platonic way. But anyway, have to try so hard not to show the ick. Exactly. So I'm like, wait a minute. So I'd have to pretend that I'm not grossed out by him. I'll have to dodge, like, if he tries to, I'm sure, okay, so I've never been groped at or anything by the men in Dubai. I have to give men in Dubai the props. They are very respectful. I will never take this away from Dubai men, okay? Very respectful. No one's ever grabbed me. Once in a while, I'll have a guy try to grab my hand. That I'm really not a fan of, but at least, like, again, it's not the worst offense that a guy could possibly do, right? If they try to grab my hand, typically what happens is that I'll just snatch it right back and I'll let them know that this is not how the rules work over here in Ren world. But so pretend that I'm not getting the ick by them, like dodging him, because he's probably going to try to like tap my shoulder or something, like the platonic touches that they try to get away with, which fine, whatever, but I still prefer that you don't touch me at all, right? So I'll have to deal with that. I'll have to pretend that, every food that he buys me, everything that he shows me, like everything, all the facilities of the place, I'm going to have to act all surprised, impressed by. And then I'm going to have to entertain his conversation. Like he's going to ask invasive lines of questioning that I'm going to have to use mental energy, mental bandwidth to dodge and deflect the conversation or steer it into a different direction. I'm going to be exhausted, basically, by the time that I get home, because I've basically used all of my mental strength and energy to entertain this man. And on top of it, I'm not even going to be able to, I don't even have the freedom to entertain other men or to have like, other higher quality, higher net worth individuals approach me, because I'm going to be attached to this dude the whole time. If he's the one taking me on the golf excursion, then I can't be out there obviously trying to freestyle and catch another guy from my roster. So it's like, what value do I get out of this? Exactly. Honestly, it sounds so tiring. Is that worth the 100 dirhams or 200 dirhams? I don't know how much it costs to go golfing. Is it worth all of my labor, all of my emotional labor for a guy that I'm not even attracted to? Or would it be better if I just wait until, like I'm not making the big bucks or anything, but once I get situated in my new job, I'm going to have a comfortable standard of living, right? It's a decent salary with a really good company and pension and all the benefits, all the bells and whistles that go with it. I also make money from my YouTube channel. It's not a lot, but the thing with YouTube is that I get as much out of it as I put into it, right? So the more content that I make, the more quality that I pour into my channel, typically it translates to more AdSense revenue. So like I'm creating money for myself. I got that part covered. So why would I need to basically like rent myself out emotionally to a guy for a whole day just for this little experience that I could easily cover for myself? And then it was awkward. So if that venue, or if the what's it called, the company that throws those singles meet and greet events, if they ask me for a review on their service, I'm gonna give them like 2 stars. Honestly, they deserve one, but I would give two just to be nice. And I would say that I'm just not satisfied with the amount of regulation. I don't know, like I don't like the way that the events end, which is that they basically leave it open-ended. I think the actual event on the cue card or the invitation lists 7 to 9 p.m. But then people kind of just like hang around after 9 p.m., right? So the actual speed dating part of it is done by 9 p.m., but then people have to decide what they're going to do next, right? Like some people, there was a group that decided they were going to go for an after party kind of thing, like at another bar. I never attend those either because like, what do I look like? I'm not hard up for guys and I'm not hard up for friends either. Okay. I'm very, very particular about both of those types of relationships. Like I'm particular about the types of people that I search for when it comes to both friendships and romantic relationships. So I'm not just going to go out with any people. That's why I say like business industry events are a better bet than the dating events, because at least you have a common thread with all of the people attending those events. Everyone is interested in AI or robotics, whatever the topic of the event is. When it's just a specifically tailored dating event, what do you have in common with those people? What could you possibly have in common? So yeah, it was like 9:15 and I'm like thinking to myself, okay, how do I get out of this without I did not even exchange like my phone number or my Instagram with any of the guys there. Usually they'll try to get your Instagram and I don't even like, okay, if a guy asks for my Instagram, I already know that that's not even the type of guy that I want, because the ones that want your Instagram, they just want a way, they're looking for the least effort way to keep tabs on you. And I'm like, what is it in that for me though? Are you paying me to look at my Instagram? Because I really should start charging ninjas to even follow me on Instagram. Like I've started blocking guys that only have accounts on Instagram in order to lurk on people's profiles. I can tell if it's a guy or a girl typically, because a lot of girls also do the same thing. Like a lot of people have accounts solely for viewing their friends' accounts and whatnot. But I can tell the ones that are following me for my makeup content and the ones that follow me for the fact that they're a creepster guy that is just trying to get their rocks off. I have to go, but I enjoyed the chat. Thank you. Thanks for joining, Shrewd. Yeah, I like talking to you. Yeah, I wanted to leave. The guy that I was sitting, I could tell that he was like, his gears were turning in his head and he was trying to figure out how he should play this, like, oh, should I ask for her number, etc. And yeah, before he could even get a word out, I was like, hey, yeah, I think I'm gonna leave, like I think I'm just gonna pay my bill. Oh, another thing, I ordered a sushi roll because I didn't eat anything that day. Most of the people there just got drinks. There was one drink that was included in the ticket of the event, but the venue also served food. So I asked for a food menu because I was hungry. And since none of these guys here are stimulating enough in conversation, I guess I'm just going to have to stimulate myself with some sushi. This is my thought process. So I ordered myself sushi. And the guy that was like sitting with me, that the one that was trying to impress me by, suggesting that he could take me out to golf, he didn't even offer to pay for my food, which happens sometimes. So I've been to 3 like speed dating type of events, right? The first one I went to, I hit the jackpot with the guy that lived in a dress hotel right across from the Burj Khalifa. And then it just went downhill from there, right? So the second event I went to, it was similar to the third event. Like I wasn't interested in anyone. I wasn't attracted to any of the guys there. But at least one of the guys there covered my bill because he was like, oh, do you want another drink? And I was like, actually, I could go for some real food. So he was like, order whatever you want. I'll cover it. So at least that guy, at least I was able to get my food paid for the second time. And then And the third time, the guy didn't even offer me to pay for my sushi roll. If he did that, I'll be honest with you, I had half a mind to take up his offer to go for golf on one of the precious few days of my trip. So that's another thing that you have to take into account. Like, my vacation days here are limited, which means that you really have to bring the heat. You really have to offer something of substance to me to make it worth my while to even spend my time with you. But I was like side-eyeing him when I asked the bartender or the waitress to bring me my bill, and he was like silent. I paused for a second, like, are you gonna step in to take care of this? No. Oh my god, the Dusties are gonna get so triggered when they watch this live. But no, he didn't. He was silent when I paid my bill, so I was like, all right, whatever. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and he was like, oh yeah, like, I think I'm gonna leave too. Are you leaving? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the bathroom and then leave. And he was like, yeah, I'll wait for you to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, wait for what? You think I'm gonna go to the bathroom and then come back for you since you're gonna wait for me here? No, I'm going to the bathroom and I'm going home. And that's exactly what I did. And I took an Uber home. So I basically like hightailed it out of there. I walked really fast so that he couldn't get up and follow me. And yeah, I found a bathroom. It was like not a shopping mall, but it was a whole complex of different stores near the beach. So thankfully, the bathroom was kind of a little far removed from the venue that we were at, meaning that no one could find me there. Sorry. I'm going to mute for a second so that I can blow my nose. We are back from our intermission. So we went through the two of the ways that I meet men and get them to do favors for me without having to give, without having to go past anything but a platonic relationship with them. First one is just out in the open, freestyling, as Shira says. Second one is through events, whether that be dating events or business networking type of events. And then thirdly is through couchsurfing.com. So I don't want to get too into this, but I did release a video on this in my membership section if you want to see like exactly how I use couchsurfing. Basically, the gist of it is that obviously I don't use the site to find men that will house me in their houses, okay? Never stay with a stranger. But as far as Dubai is concerned, the city is safe enough. And again, I'm going to give props to Dubai men of whatever income level that they're at. Overall, very respectful, helpful, and generous. Of course, they might have like ulterior motives of wanting to hang out with a pretty girl, but I have never been in a situation where I truly felt like I was in danger or that a guy was like overstepping his bounds. Even in the cases where guys have tried their luck, the most that has ever happened is that one of them will try to grab my hand in the middle of the day, which to me is not the hugest violation ever, right? Because all I have to do is set the boundary that, hey, I'm not cool with holding your hand, and that's it. No one's ever tried to put their hand around my waist or anything like that. It's illegal anyway in the UAE to do that in public. So that's one of the reasons why I feel like Dubai is just a very, very safe haven for women to live their best life, really, whether that involves men or it doesn't, because you can totally go there just by yourself and you can have a grand old time on any budget, really. Like for me, I barely spend, the most that I ever spend is on the plane ticket to Dubai. As far as the actual activities that I do there and even the hotel fees, like I always stay at very affordable business hotels. So it doesn't eat as much from my wallet as you would think. But I use couch surfing twice. This is my second time using couch surfing to find a guy to basically give me a ride from the airport. Because the thing about the flight from Tokyo to Dubai is that it arrives very early in the morning, like usually 6 a.m., sometimes even earlier than that, depending on which one you take. And the problem with that is that most hotels don't have check-in until 1 p.m. During the summer, the hotel that I use, it has an early check-in of 11 a.m. Even then, though, that's like several hours of time that I have to kill before I can actually check in and release all my bags and luggage and stuff. Because of that, I've used couch surfing twice to find guys that were willing to go out of their way to pick me up from the airport. And then in a lot of cases, they will pay for like both of us to have lunch together as well. So the first time that I did this, and you don't have to reach out to anyone as a girl if you're on couch surfing. All you have to do is post a public trip that says, hey, I'm going to be in Dubai from this date to that day, and your inbox is going to get flooded with all sorts of offers, from the dustiest of offers to like really legit ones from actual legitimate safe members of the community that have a lot of good comments from other users. So yeah, you can check out my detailed video on couch surfing if you want to know more about this. But ironically though, I don't even want to promote that, because the whole point of me doing this live is to tell you why I'm kind of over this way of life, if you will. It's not to say that I will never lean on guys again in the future for random tasks and whatnot. It's like having your personal task rabbit team in your phone at all times, right? But at the moment right now, I'm just in a space where I cannot even be bothered. If a man is not going to give me something substantial, such as literal money in my hand, cash money, or land, or like some sort of connection and into exclusive events that I would not be able to get into by myself. Like, for example, if there's an organization throwing an event here in Tokyo, but you have to be a card carrying member in order to attend, or you have to be the guest of a card carrying member, I would be open to being the plus one of a guy that is attending that event, right? Because that is something that could like benefit me in the long term in terms of my overall social strategy. But as far as all of these little like petty cash, petty gifts, these little one-off meals and stuff, it's just I really don't think it's worth my time or energy. I say that and watch, I'm gonna run to couch surfing again the next time I go to Dubai because it's just too convenient to be able to get like free rides to and from the airport. Not that I can't afford it myself, obviously, but those Uber tabs do add up, you know? It's like $50 from the airport to the hotel that I like to stay at. I could pay it, or I could just get a guy to get me, and then I have to entertain him for a few hours, right? With my presence and my conversation. So, first time I did this, it was a guy that lived in Dera, which, if you know, is one of the lower income areas of Dubai, which, again, I don't discriminate, you know, as long as you have the resources in the moment that I need, and as long as you're not a total creep, I'll take it, right? So, he lived in Dera, but he had a car, he had a job, and he was able to he was open that morning to pick me up. This is the first time, which was New Year's Eve last year, right? He was like, yeah, I can pick you up at like 5 a.m. And then I needed somewhere to basically just like stay and take a quick nap. So I wasn't gonna be sleeping in any guy's room or anything like that, but I just needed to be in like a private space where I could kind of decompress a little bit, right? For a few hours before my hotel check-in. So he was like, you can use my apartment if you don't mind. It's a studio, but I'll just go work, because he was planning on working from home that day because it was New Year's Eve. So, you know, the traffic was projected to be really bad that day, but he was like, you know what, you probably want some privacy, so I'll just let you stay in my studio and I'll just go to my office for the first half of the day, and then around lunchtime I'll come back and get you and drop you off at your hotel. So it was actually like really nice. I really appreciated it. It was like miles away from, you know, the Burj Khalifa apartment of the first guy that I met, but it got the job done, right? So that was okay. And then I brought him, like, in these situations when I use guys on Meetup to help me out, I will bring a little gift from Japan, like from the omiyage shop in the airport, like usually something matcha flavored because it's very stereotypically Japan, and they're usually very happy to receive something like that because it's not something that they could ever get in the UAE, and it's, you know, it's a good like token of goodwill, right? Even though it's obvious that they're mostly helping me just because they think I'm a really attractive solo female traveler, but then at the same time we're upholding this charade that, okay, but this is for cultural exchange, and it's always good to have a buffer. This is why dating websites and events that are specifically tailored or specifically geared towards helping male and female singles meet each other, this is why I think moving forward, attractive girls collectively, all women really, I hope, but mostly hot girls, need to just avoid those situations like the plague, because the dynamics that are set up from the get-go are stacked in a way that makes you susceptible to predatory behavior. Like, we're already at risk just by nature of being a woman out in this big bad man's world. So why would you want to exacerbate that by purposely placing yourself in an environment that blatantly catered towards desperate single men, or men that are just desperate to get any type of feminine energy or essence in their lives? You know what I mean? I don't know if I explained that the best, but yeah. So the first guy, he was like very socially awkward, but he didn't cross any boundaries when he was picking me up. Again, he did what I needed him to do. He understood the assignment, brought me from the airport to his apartment. I appreciated a lot the fact that he went out of his way to change his plans for the day and went to his office instead of like staying at his apartment, because he felt that I would be uncomfortable with him there. So I really truly appreciated that. Felt like, okay, good. So I'm glad that I brought this omiyage for him, this gift for him. That is where the interaction should end, right? You did a favor for me by giving me a ride from the airport and then subsequently to my hotel, and I gave you my token of appreciation in the form of this souvenir of these cookies from Japan. Like, if you were dealing with a girl, for instance, right? We intrinsically know that that is kind of the end of the interaction, and then nobody owes anyone else anything more past that point. But the problem with simps, like the problem with guys that are desperate for any sort of female interaction, even if the only way that they can get a girl to talk to them is by offering her free rides to the airport and to her hotel, these guys are so desperate that like they do not know when to quit. You know, like they will not respect the unspoken social boundary that, okay, our interaction ends here. If you want to open up another interaction with me, then you have to come to me with another value proposition, right? Like you cannot just keep riding off of this wave of you did me one favor one time and then I already repaid you for that favor, right? Like I gave you an equal exchange in the form of a gift. In order for me to give you that gift, like I had to think about this beforehand too. It wasn't a spontaneous thing. Like I already factored you into my mental processes in terms of, okay, how am I going to make sure that the scales are balanced in a way so that this guy doesn't feel like I totally just like used him for his car, right? I have enough high social IQ or high social EQ to be able to approach every interaction that I have, whether it's with a guy or a girl. I'm very good at this. And like most people who are good at social climbing or most people who are successful in life have a very good grasp of this concept, right? But the problem is when you accept favors from men that are socially awkward or they just really don't have any options really, they're going to latch on to whatever in that you give them, like whatever opening that they have to enter into your lives. They're going to hold on to that for dear life as if it's a lifeline, you know, or a life jacket. If you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So that's kind of what happened with this dude. Like I kind of, you know, after he brought me to the hotel, he had to leave because the roads were going to be closed and barricaded off by 4 p.m. on New Year's Eve, because that's just what they do in order to curb the traffic during that time. So he had to get out of there, or else I would have had no problem eating a meal with him, because we were originally planning to eat a late lunch together, and I had no problem with doing that as part of like my thanks to him for driving me around on my first day in Dubai, right? Along with the actual present from Narita that I gave him, I was prepared to spend an hour or two eating with him, right? So that could also be like part of his payment to be in my presence. But then we weren't able to do it because of the timing. So I was like, okay, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, I gave him his gift and then I gave him profuse thanks, of course, and we waved at each other and went about our merry ways. So I thought, but no. See, because they never want to let go. Like these dudes, you should avoid actual simps, because like guys that really cannot offer you anything other than a one-off type of service or favor, I would say it's not even worth it for me in the future, at least, because it's just not worth them clinging on to you. I always end up having to block them anyway because they have no concept of boundaries, and even if they know the boundaries, they don't care to follow them. They don't care to respect them because all they care about is that this is my only supply of feminine energy that I've had in however many months, and I cannot let her go under any circumstances. Like it's a poverty mindset. It's a desperation mindset that I don't even want to open myself up to anymore, even if it's not like my life is not in grave danger or anything. But I just remember this guy kept messaging me over and over again. And then he said something so passive aggressive also on New Year's. He was like, hey, you know, how was your New Year's? Like, Happy New Year. And I was like, okay, yeah, Happy New Year, whatever. That's it. That's all you're getting from me. And he's like, so how did you spend your New Year's? And I was like, yeah, I just watched the fireworks from outside. You know, I was planning to meet up with some friends, but it didn't pan out because I didn't have the physical pass. You guys remember I was supposed to go with this guy from Bumble to the Armani Hotel to view the fireworks. But since I didn't have the physical pass in my hand, they didn't let me past a certain point. So I decided to just like stay out on the street. I camped out on the street with everyone else and watched the fireworks from there, which was totally fine with me because I was still able to get the footage that I wanted on my phone. So then he was like, oh, but you never invited me. I'm like, okay. And I never said anything to him after that. I actually blocked him after that because then he would also like, this is on WhatsApp, by the way. So he would also heart every single update that I put on. WhatsApp has stories, basically. It's the same as Instagram that you can post. So every time I would post something, he would like put a heart or he would say, oh my God, so beautiful. So then eventually I just blocked him because I'm like, our interaction is over, dude. Like you had your chance, okay? You had your little glory day in the sun. The day that you picked me up from the airport and then I gave you those matcha biscuits, that was our interaction. You have no more access to me after this. That's the annoying part. that a lot of girls on here don't talk about. You can certainly, what's the word, extrapolate this. You can scale this, so to speak, to the point where you have men taking care of your entire lifestyle, right? That's the entire model, essentially. This is like the bare bones model of the sugar lifestyle, but they don't talk about the exhausting mental maintenance and like the constant warding off of these men's attempts at trying to siphon off your energy. Like, this is just a regular dude with a 9 to 5 job. He was probably making like 50K a year. So imagine a dude that has actual resources, that's making six figures or millions of dollars, that actually has something that can be of real value to you. Like, yes, on the one hand, you can maybe benefit a lot from him, but on the other hand, just the mental labor and maintenance that it takes to cultivate these relationships, especially if you don't even like the guy, or if you're not even genuinely attracted to him, you really have to ask yourself, is it worth it in the end? And I'm not saying that any one style or any girl's style is right or wrong. I'm just saying, make sure that you're okay with whatever way that you decide to go about this, but don't try to build a simp army or try to build a roster just because you saw someone do it on social media and you think it looks cool. But in reality, it's like draining you of every last bit of your life essence, trying to manage these relationships with these men and manage their sporadic texts, like trying to siphon your energy in the middle of the night when you're not even like in a relationship with them, you're not even married to them, and yet they think because they gave you a couple $1,000s one time that now they have access to you forever, right? A lot of these men, that's how they think. That's how their mindset is about their relationship to you. Whether you label it as a sugar relationship or a beneficial relationship, whatever label or title you put on it, know the dynamics of what you're really getting into before you decide to just go jump 2 feet in without any contingency plans. You might find out that you actually feel better and you feel more at peace providing for yourself, right? So anyway, so actually I blocked him on WhatsApp, right? Because I was just like, I don't have time for this. We're not actually friends. Like, you did a favor for me once and I gave you a token of appreciation, and that was the extent of our interaction. Don't get it twisted. And I also, I wrote him a nice review on Couchsurfing and he wrote one for me. So that's it. I don't know what more you're expecting from this dude. But then he saw that I posted a new trip at the end of June when I went to Dubai. I should not wave this around. Fire hazard. So he saw that I posted a new trip and he actually reached out to me again on Couchsurfing, because this time I was looking around. I was looking for a new guy to pick me up from the airport. Same spiel, because my flight arrives at like 6 a.m. and I'm like, what am I going to do for 5 hours while I wait around to check into my hotel? If I'm going to wait around for 5 hours, I might as well have a guy give me a free ride and buy me lunch, right? So he found my trip on Couchsurfing. So I don't know what these guys do, if they have notifications set or something, or if they really have such uneventful lives that they have all this time to just sit around on Couchsurfing, scrounging for beautiful girls that might be visiting their city soon and trying to throw at them whatever little that they can offer. But yeah, that same guy reached out to me and he was like, hey, are you going to be in Dubai again? And at the time I hadn't found a different person yet to pick me up from the airport. So I was like, all right, you know what? If he's reaching out to me and if he wants to do me another favor, maybe I'll entertain it, right? Because I need a ride at the end of the day. So I was like, yeah, actually, I'm arriving on the morning of, such and such date. I forget, but it's the same deal. Like, my plane's going to get in super early. Are you working on that day? Like, do you think you could pick me up? You want to know what he says to me? He's like, actually, did you block me on WhatsApp? Dude, no, okay? Like, these dudes don't understand. Some of them really don't understand the ground rules. You ask me a question like that, you're getting blocked on all platforms, okay? So obviously, I blocked him immediately on Couchsurfing too after that. Like, congratulations, dude. You have no idea how to play the game. Either you don't know where you stand on this hierarchy, like, you don't know that you really don't have any value here except for the odd ride to the airport that you can provide for me here and there. Because if you knew where you actually stood on the totem pole, you would not dare to say something like that antagonistic out of your mouth. Did you block me on WhatsApp? Yeah, and what are you going to do about it? We're not in a relationship, we're not in a friendship. So you basically messaged me under the guise of, oh, you're coming back to Dubai, like, I'm so glad to see you again, under the guise of wanting to help me out, only to try and rope me into some sort of argument. I don't go back and forth with dudes. I disappear and find another one. I find a better one with a better car that can take me to a nicer place. Okay? That's how I move. That's how pretty, privileged, whatever you want to call it, girls move in this world. And if you're a guy with little to zero prospects and you still haven't understood that that's the system that we live in, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but yeah. So that was where he went wrong right there. Actually, did you block me on WhatsApp? Yeah. And what if I did? And did? And what? I almost, like, for research purposes, I almost considered entertaining that line of questioning for a second. Like, I almost wanted to reply. I wanted to make an excuse like, oh no, I'm back in Japan, so my Japanese phone number doesn't work with WhatsApp. Some obvious lie that was meant to be an excuse, because just to see how he would react, just to see what this guy delusionally thought he had the right to react with, like the delusional cards that he thought that he had to play, which actually didn't exist, because who are you and what do you have to offer me? Absolutely nothing. So yeah, right after I blacked that guy, I found the next guy who I was actually going to have pick me up from the airport this time. And this guy was a better prospect, but this interaction is what kind of turned me off for the rest of the trip from even dealing with men at all. I went to the singles speed dating event the next day only because I had already reserved my seat. So I was like, I might as well just go to this event. But if I had the option to get a refund, I probably would have decided to get my ticket refunded and not even go to that event, because yeah. So the guy that picked me up this time, again, super respectful, right? Didn't do anything out of pocket, like didn't say anything inappropriate to me. And he had proof on his profile that he was a trusted, legitimate member of the community. Like, I could see that he didn't have too many references, but the ones that he did have, I could see that it was from both women and men. So at the very least, I know that he's not solely here just for the purpose of coming into contact with beautiful women for free, right? But anyway, so he reached out to me and he asked me, like, he told me that he could pick me up. He brought me back to his apartment, which was on Sheikh Zayed Road. So he actually had a pretty spacious apartment. And then it turned out that he was married with 2 kids, and his kids were in India going to school. I think his wife was also like working on assignment in India. So this is where I start to look at him sideways. I started to side-eye him when he started to talk about his family, because I'm like, okay, does your wife know that you're picking up a very attractive girl who is younger than her from the airport under the guise of just being a good Samaritan? Like, not that he did anything inappropriate to me. And even the conversations that we actually had a very, very long conversation about like business. So he's in the import export business for something or other, I forget, but he owns his own business. And he was telling me how Dubai is a good place to have as a hub for your business if you're in the import export business, because the business taxes are so low. Basically, this guy, so he was a businessman, he was an entrepreneur, he had his own company, originally from India, met his wife in college, and they're like happily married from his accounts. They have 2 kids, 2 daughters. One is 8 and one is 13, I believe. I thought that, so he's originally from India, right? But he's been in Dubai since like 2010. He didn't want his daughters to get too used to the cushy life in Dubai, so he sent them to school in India. Okay, I'm going to reserve my comments on that. But by the looks of it, and by his apartment, and the fact that he lives on Sheikh Zayed Road, which is very, very prime real estate, I actually asked him how much. I asked him, if you don't mind sharing, how much does your rent cost? And he said something like 15,000 dirhams per month. So like $4,000 to $5,000 per month, which checks out for an apartment of that size on such a major road, right? It was like, and it was very conveniently located, only 15 minutes from the airport. His car was also really nice. I forget the brand, but it was like a really nice car. One thing that I felt bad about is that I lost a bag. I know, when I was moving my stuff into his car. I think it just fell out on the road and I didn't notice. It was this bag. I had it resting on my suitcase, so I wasn't holding onto it with my actual hands, and I think it just fell down. So then we were climbing up you know how there's like a ramp and it goes up in a spiral for a lot of parking garages. So we were midway climbing up to the parking garage to park his car when I realized that my bag was missing. So we actually had to go back all the way to the airport, and then he had to like repay the entrance fee or the toll fee, which I told him, you know what, I can pay you back for that. Like, I'm so sorry that I lost my bag. And he, without any hesitation, he had zero hesitation and zero like agitation in his voice. The moment that I said, I think I left my bag at the airport, he was like, that's no problem whatsoever. Let's go back and get it. You know, like we have time. I have time this morning. Like I blocked out my morning until your check-in time so that we could have lunch and whatever. So don't sweat it. And so that part, like I really, again, I appreciated what he did for me, right? And I was happy to talk about business with him. And I learned things that I didn't realize until I talked to him. The fact that if you keep your stock, like if you have an import and export business, even if you import and export to different countries like outside of Dubai, it's advantageous to keep inventory in Dubai because you don't have to pay as many taxes as a lot of the neighboring countries. So it was very like eye-opening, and it was enlightening in terms of I felt good about the fact that it wasn't just me dancing around like a monkey trying to entertain him so that he felt good about his little, contribution of giving me a free ride and everything to my life. I felt like, okay, this is actually like a valuable conversation. This is the type of person that I prefer to connect with, right? Like somebody that has business experience. I thought he was in his 40s. He gave off very much like Indian uncle vibes, not to be rude or anything, but he's actually 38, which is only 3 years older than me. But the thing is, I look so much younger than my actual age because I'm 35. So I think he was just very like, okay, he was respectful, but there were moments throughout the conversation where I was just like, I'm done with like 99.99% of men. Honestly, I don't know how else to put it because, okay, never say never. I'm open to still getting married and everything if it benefits me, right? So the lucky thing about me, I guess, is that I don't have any desire to have kids. Again, never say never, but I would say the chances of me having or wanting to have kids in this lifetime is probably like less than 5%. It's not a complete zero, but it's less than 5%. Like I've never imagined my life being a mom or anything like that. So I don't have to worry about time necessarily. We all know that, Lauren Sanchez is 55 and she just got married to the billionaire of all billionaires, Jeff Bezos, in Venice, which everyone had a meltdown about, apparently. Like people were not happy about their wedding extravaganza. It's kind of amusing to me because I don't see what the big deal is. But anyway, Lauren Sanchez was 55 when she got married to the man of her dreams. So I'm not going to place any time limitations on myself, And Lauren Sanchez, everyone likes to make fun of her fillers and whatnot, but I think that she looks great. I mean, I think her figure, if nothing else, is extremely enviable. Is she Leo? I would not be surprised if Lauren Sanchez is a Leo because she gives me very much like Leo, but she's not. Okay, she was born in December, but I don't know. Like I think people have so much vitriol and hate for women that are just out here winning at life and unapologetic about their high standards. Like she was, obviously, it goes without saying, she was successful on her own, in her own right, before she even met Bezos. So the fact that like the whole narrative that they're trying to push about her being a gold digger is categorically false because she was already doing her thing like way before Bezos came in the picture. Missy Nyako, you're glowing, girl. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is what happens when you don't give away your energy for anything less than what you're worth. So I don't mind giving from my overflow all day, every day to my girls, right? Like my girlies on this channel that I'm trying to help cultivate and nurture. And I see myself as a big sister to some of you, but to most of you, I would like you to consider me also just your peer in this journey of life, in this level up journey, we'll say. I was going to say like social climbing, but people have different definitions for social climbing, right? So I don't necessarily want to claim that, but I think just level up, whatever that means for you. We are all in this together. And I just want us to all collectively like bring our hive mind together so that we can learn from each other's mistakes and learn like the collective knowledge of all of our collective experiences is a gold mine of information, right? And I want us all to just like facilitate conversation without having to censor ourselves. But anyway, this guy that brought me from the airport to his apartment. So then he invited me in to, like he made me tea. And then I did the same thing as I did with the other guy. The other guy was younger too. So like he really had nothing to offer except just a ride. But this guy was at least older. He had his own business. He had a lot of entrepreneurial knowledge that I was able to kind of pick his brains for a couple of hours before I checked in. And he had a really nice apartment, So it was really comfortable to sit there and chat with him over some tea. He made me chai tea tea, like Indian style tea. So that was nice. And then before he dropped me off to my hotel, he took me to Tim Hortons for breakfast. So that was all good and fine. And truly I'm grateful, right? I'm grateful that I'm able to call opportunities and help like this into my life, whether it's in the form of a guy or a girl, you know? Like sometimes it could be a girl, it could be a woman too. But in this particular case, like on couch surfing, it tends to be guys trying to offer their services to girls just so that they can have a chance to socialize with a girl. But my problem though, throughout all of this, that I cannot get out of my head, no matter how respectful he was, no matter how much he was not a creep. Okay, this was my mistake, but for some reason I kept mentioning my Instagram because I was talking about how I wanted to like explore the idea of selling Asian cosmetics in Dubai. I felt like there was a gap in the market in that sense, right? Because there's so many girls in Dubai that are interested in like K beauty and J beauty and stuff. And I feel like there's just such a limited supply of that there. Like there's not that many retailers. They have Miniso, I think, in Dubai, but there's really not a lot of variety, right? And we all know K beauty, J beauty, C beauty is a whole rabbit hole. Like each individual section is just like a completely different dimension of products, consumer capabilities. I just feel like it's untapped as of now in the UAE. And so we were talking about that. And I don't know why, like I had to open my big mouth and talk about how I do makeup videos on Instagram. It's weird because, you know, in the end, I ended up blocking him on Instagram, of course. But like in the end, I feel like everything happens for a reason. Usually I would never divulge my social media information. I don't even talk about it to guys that I meet with, or else they will inevitably ask me for it. And I'm not trying to get a bunch of guys ghost watching me or like stalking me on social media for no reason, right? It's just they're sucking my energy for free that way. Even if it's just through Instagram, like no, that is not for your eyes. But yeah, for some reason I just talked about how my girlfriends in the UAE always hit me up on Instagram in my DMs when they know that I'm going to go to Dubai because they want me to bring certain makeup from Japan to them. And then of course he's like, "Oh, what's your Instagram? Let me follow you." And I'm like, "Shit, okay." So I have to give it to him, right? Cuz like I brought it up. So that would be really weird if I said no or if I gave him a fake page. Cuz I already talked about the fact that I do makeup reels and stuff. So he follows my Instagram and tell me why this guy, I took screenshots of it, but I don't know if it's even worth pulling up. Tell me why after he dropped me off at the hotel and everything. So I never met up with this guy again throughout my trip, even though he was spamming me every single day, trying to get me to hang out with him. Okay, let me just finish the Instagram stuff. So tell me why he went through like every single one of my posts all the way back to years ago. Cause like some of the posts that he liked, I posted years ago. He liked a post of me in a bikini on a beach in Okinawa. That was a girls' trip that I went on at least 3 years ago. And he was liking all of my older working and pole dancing videos. And I'm just like, sir, are you not married? Does your wife know that you are offering up your time and your resources and you're offering free rides to pretty girls at Dubai International Airport and you're paying for them to eat lunch with you, even though you're not technically doing anything wrong? Like he wasn't being creepy, right? He didn't say anything sexual. He didn't allude to anything sexual whatsoever during our entire conversation. But does your wife know I'm sitting here in your house right now and you're making me tea? Like that was the thing that was weighing on my heart the entire time, and that I was just not amused no matter which way you spin it. Like, yes, of course, I was benefiting from whatever he was doing for me at the time, but throughout the whole interaction, throughout the whole time together, even if it was just a few hours of us talking about business and entrepreneurship and whatever, the whole time I could not shake the feeling that, okay, but if your wife knew about this, would she be happy about it? And there was even one point in the conversation where maybe it was a Freudian slip on my part. He was talking about how he had all these connections in India. And he said that like 3,000 people attended his wedding, not 300, 3,000. He was describing to me just, you know, the spectacle that Indian weddings can be, right? I was like, 3,000? I think that's more than even Priyanka Chopra and who's the Jonas brother that she married? Priyanka Chopra and Nick Jonas's wedding, right? Like, I think you got the A-listers beat that you had 3,000 guests at your wedding. I don't think even Priyanka Chopra can say that she had that many. Something like that, right? And then he was like, oh, yeah, you know, but they're in A-list circles, though, so they have a different game to play when it comes to networking. And then I took that opportunity to mention that, hey, he was like, yeah, you know, I don't really follow celebrity gossip, but I know who you're talking about, right? Everyone knows Priyanka Chopra, and I know that, yeah, it was was a big deal when she married a Jonas brother. And I was like, oh, I think that your wife needs to be here to join in on this conversation with me. Right. And he was like, actually, she would have fun talking about this. Yeah, she would be interested in like talking about Bollywood stars and whatever. Cause I don't know why. Like, I just decided to shift the conversation because I control the conversation. Okay. Don't get it twisted. Men, I let them think that they're controlling the conversation, but at the end of the day, I'm pulling all the strings. So I just started talking about Bollywood stars and I was like, oh, I like that other star. What's her name? Now I can't remember. But when it's game time, I know. No, there was this older Bollywood star, Amisha Patel. She goes to Dubai a lot. And like she was in this movie, Hamraz, which is the original movie that I think A Perfect Murder, or like one of those films that Michael Patrick Douglas was in. One of the thrillers in Hollywood was based on an old Bollywood film by the name of Hamraz, which starred Amisha Patel. So I thought she was very charming in that movie, right? And so I decided to follow her on Instagram. And lo and behold, she travels to Dubai a lot to meet with her fans and whatnot. So I was like, okay, yeah, these are the Bollywood stars that I'm a fan of. And I think that your wife should be here to join in on this conversation with me. Because I'm sure if another woman was here, a woman of Indian descent, such as your wife, she could participate in this discussion with me about Priyanka Chopra and all those Bollywood stars. That's what I was like insinuating in the conversation. And he was like, yeah, you have a point. Like she does like to gossip about the celebs and stuff. But I said it to kind of like send a signal that, hey, I'm on your wife's side, okay? And I just, yeah, even if she knew about it, which I would bet $100 that this guy's wife had no idea that he was like on couch surfing, looking for pretty girls to drive them around, be their chauffeur for half a day. You want to know why? Because he asked me for a review right after he dropped me off at the hotel. And I'm like, of course, I'll give you a positive review. It's part of like my thanks to the people that helped me, right? But then I asked him, okay, can you write me a review too? And to date, he has not written me anything. I also blocked him on couch surfing, but he hasn't written me a review, which tells me that you're trying to cover something up, or you're trying to keep something from your wife by omission, sir. What, like you don't want to leave a digital footprint online that could serve as proof that you picked up a stranger girl that you've never met before just because she's pretty, so that you could do her a favor by giving her a ride from the airport? Could this be the reason? Because the other guy was single and younger and he left me a review, right? Because he has nothing to lose. But since you're married and your wife is out of the country, I'll bet you money that this guy's wife had no clue what he was up to when she was out of the country. And this is the thing, like even regular ass dudes, even the uncle types, the ones that are not overtly being sexual or inappropriate with you, the ones that seemingly know how to respect boundaries, they still are doing shit in the dark. As far as I'm concerned, you're doing this behind your wife's back in the dark, even though no, you're not having an affair necessarily. And it's not like you can't even consider our lunch a date or anything. But in my book, like if my husband was doing this without my knowledge while I'm out of the country, I would absolutely consider this to be a form of cheating. And this is the thing about these men, right? Like even the most textbook, on the books, seemingly family guy, seemingly nice guy, they're still doing whatever shit in the dark to get their rocks off. It's like, first of all, this is offensive to all parties involved. It's offensive to your wife, first of all, because I'm sure that she doesn't know that you're doing this. And if she had a say in the matter, I'm sure she wouldn't want you to be spending all this time alone with a solo attractive female traveler that you went out of your way to pick her up at the airport. So it's offensive to your wife. It's offensive to your daughters by proxy. I'm sure that they wouldn't be proud if they heard that their dad was doing this. And it's offensive to me too, as the attractive single woman who has her pick up the litter. You're not even offering me anything of substance for my company. Because this guy tried to hang out with me the entire trip that I was there, the entire week. These dudes think they're so slick. They get so crafty with it because like every time he asked me to hang out with him, he would always make sure to temper it by saying, oh, I'm meeting up with one of my friends, so do you want to join me, so that it'll be the three of us. So he invited me on 2 separate occasions to join him. The first, actually, I was contemplating the first one. I arrived in Dubai on a Friday, and then he said that he was meeting like a business associate in Abu Dhabi that weekend. So I was like, oh, Abu Dhabi, isn't that where Ferrari Land was? Yeah, I wish I had the chance to go to Ferrari Land last time I was in Abu Dhabi because I only had time to go to the Grand Mosque. Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque with my friends. But if it was up to me, I would have also wanted to go to Ferrari Land. So then he was like, oh, well, I also want to go to Ferrari Land too. I've never got the chance to go. And my wife and my daughters are not into roller coasters. So I would be open to going with you if you want to go this weekend, since I'm going to Abu Dhabi anyway. So then I was like, you know what? Let me think about it, right? And then he comes back at me and he's like, hey, so I have to meet up with my friend to talk about something related to business, and I have to stay overnight. So if you wanted to go to Ferrari Land, I would be willing to come pick you up and drive us there, and then we could both go to Ferrari Land, which is kind of weird, right? So I'm glad I didn't go in the end. But he was like, yeah, we could go to Ferrari Land, and then I have to stay the night for something related to business. So if you wanted to get like your own accommodation in Abu Dhabi, we could do this trip. Of course, that's not what I wanted, right? Like if I was going to go to Ferrari Land, I would want somebody to be able to take me there and back within the same day, or else I'm not going to go. What would be the merit of me going? Like, why would I pay for another night at a different hotel when I already paid for my hotel in Dubai? I'm just going to stay in Dubai and do my own thing. You know what I mean? Like, if you are that desperate and hard up for my company, you're going to have to come correct with the offer, right? Like if he offered to pay for my hotel in Abu Dhabi for that night, then I would have been more inclined to say yes. But again, at the end of the day, I'm glad that it turned out this way, that I was able to say no, because I would have felt very icky. Like I already felt icky about the whole situation. Why are you liking my pole dancing posts on Instagram? And why are you so desperate to hang out with me? Even though like you're making it seem like you're a good guy and that you're following the rules of social decorum by inviting a third party every time. So then he also, okay, I've been avoiding his messages on WhatsApp. I actually blocked him on all platforms after my trip, but let me just go in and read his messages so that you can get an idea. So he was like, this is about the Ferrari Land plan, right? He was like, hey, so we're going to leave on Sunday. If you have plans to stay in Abu Dhabi for that night, it might work. I was considering meeting my cousin. Oh yeah, so it was his cousin, and staying back at night. So if you get your own place to sleep, I can drop you at that place and then pick you up the next morning to drive back to Dubai. If not, I will need to check with my cousin, blah, 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 regarding his availability. So then I responded, no, don't worry about it. Like, you go meet your cousin. If something starts to feel like it's going to take too much forcing to bring some sort of plan into fruition, I'm not going to do it, right? That's a sign to me that the universe is not really willing it to manifest organically. So I'm not going to bother like trying to, manipulate things in the 3D. So then I'm like, yeah, actually, thanks, but no, I'm just gonna catch up with some paperwork regarding work today, and I hope you have fun with your cousin. So then the next day, he messages me and he's like, hey, oh my God. So, okay, I forgot about this. He's like, can you check whether I can meet your real estate friend? So I don't know why, but like I was talking to him about how I was planning on meeting up with some of my friends in Dubai. Like every time there's this girl that is a real estate agent that I really like, who's like super beautiful and cute. And we always try to hang out every time I visit. And she's like half white, half black. And she looks like a model, right? She actually walked in some local runways in Dubai before. So I always try to meet up with that girl whenever I have time. And I was just trying to make conversation with the guy, right? So he was like, these dudes have no filter. They have no sense of shame whatsoever. He's literally trying to get access to not just me, but my attractive friends as well. This is literally what they'll do. Why do you need to meet my attractive real estate friend who is French? Do you just want to meet a French girl? Like, do you have a fetish about you want to meet a girl from as many nationalities as you can? Is that like your weird little PG way of getting the notches on your belt without actually cheating on your wife? Like, no, I'm not down with this whatsoever. And this is, like I said, this was the turning point of me ascending to the next level where I'm like, I don't even have it in me anymore to deal with 90% of these dudes, especially the ones that spring it onto you after the fact that they're married. Because like, I guess, okay, it wasn't my fault because he didn't put it in his profile, but I guess I didn't imagine that he would be married, right? Because most of the guys that reach out to me on couch surfing, I just assume that they're single, or the profile very much indicates so that they're living a bachelor life. So I assumed the same thing with this guy, but I guess I didn't look carefully enough because, yeah, turns out that he was married. Again, this is not to be mean or anything, but he showed me a picture of his wife and his kids too. And it's basically what you would expect of a guy that's looking elsewhere outside of his marriage for stimulation from other women. Like his wife was a very cute lady to me, but it's what you would expect, right? Like she was, on the chubbier side. She was in glasses, no makeup, hair not done, pretty much the complete opposite of me. I don't think she looked bad by any means, but I think it's the opposite of what he is looking for out here in these streets, apparently. Because, like, why would you need to make female friends outside of your marriage when your wife is outside of the country? That's the thing. And they have no shame about it. Like, you see how he blatantly asked me not only for more access to me, which, again, going back to the point that I made with the first guy, our interaction ends after you do the favor for me, right? So in this case, he brought me from the airport to his apartment to chill for a few hours. And then he also bought me lunch, which I appreciated. And I gave him my souvenir back as a thank you gift. That's the end of our interaction. And you don't have like carte blanche to message me infinitely until the end of time. But this is literally their mentality. If you give them an inch, they will take a mile. They feel like if you gave them the time of day in one instance, they have the right to have access to you until the end of time. This is just their mentality. We need to put a stop to it by just raising our standards collectively and not even accepting their little favors or little one-off resources because it's not worth it at the end of the day. I just feel gross. All I can think about is, okay, but what about your wife, dude? Like, why are you not channeling all of this energy into helping your wife, doting on her? So yeah, I keep curbing his invitations to hang out with him and another friend. And then the next day, he's like, today in the evening, I'll be going for a dinner with one of my German friends. Feel free that you can also join. He's a cool guy. Again, this is like, these dudes don't understand the game that they're playing, because even if I were inclined to go to dinner with you and your German friend, you have to make me a complete and compelling enough offer to where I don't have to lift a finger in order to do this, or else I'm not going to go for it. You understand? Like, why would you invite me to go meet your German friend? So now I got to entertain two men instead of one, is what you're saying here, essentially. And why would you ask that without a preemptive offer that, by the way, of course, I can pick you up and drop you off, right? Because if, like, you're asking me to go to dinner, so does that mean I have to arrange my own transportation there? Does that mean I have to go out of my way? Like, where is this dinner happening? Is it on the other side of town, opposite from where my hotel is situated? If the answer is yes to any of those, then why would I even bother to respond to this? So then I don't answer at all, right? I don't even put this message on read, but he just keeps going. He's like, so when are you heading out? I want to meet with you before you leave. I checked about the Burj Khalifa project with a local friend. So he's also trying to bait me into spending more time with him by presenting his other friends as collateral, essentially. He's like, oh, do you have any Arab friends? Like, do you have any local friends? Because I have a local Arab friend. I can introduce her to you if you want. And I'm like, no, thanks. I don't want your local female Arab friend to feel any sort of obligation to me because you're trying to use her as like a value proposition. No, that's not the way to go about it. You're a man. You have to stand on your own 2 feet. And if you approach a woman under any circumstance, whether it's romantic or even just for friendship, the offer that you give her needs to be solely from your own resources alone. Okay. I'm not going for this. It's not a bait and switch, but I'm not going for this trick about, oh, well, I have connections and I have friends that I can introduce to you. Yeah, but did your friends agree to be introduced to me as a possible connection or a possible resource for me? If not, then I don't want anything to do with this, because now your friend is going to think of me as a leech somewhere in their subconscious, and I don't want any part of that dynamic. I take my reputation very seriously, so I'm not just going to be meeting with people under circumstances in which they might have been possibly somewhat soft coerced into coming so that the man can look like he has more value. You know what I mean? So anyway, he's like, yeah, I checked with my local Arab friend about your Burj Khalifa idea, and she said it shouldn't be a problem, like we can get approval, we can get copyright. Because I was telling him that the Burj Khalifa needs to have better merch. They need to raise the standards of their merch to that of Japanese merchandise, And I was talking about how I would love to produce plushies or pillows of the Burj Khalifa, because that's what they make, plushies of everything here in Japan, and it sells like hotcakes, no matter what the fandom, right? Make something into a plushie and you're guaranteed revenue, you're guaranteed sales from the fans of that thing. So yeah, that was one of the things that we were talking about during our business discussion. So he's like literally trying to sell me that, oh, I can help you with your business ideas. Also, I want to talk to you more about your beauty and Miniso type of project ideas too. So let me know your availability. So then I just leave him on red until the last day. And I'm like, hey, so my schedule's pretty full for the rest of my trip. I actually still have to make a few rounds to people that I know before leaving. But thanks so much for meeting with me last week and best of luck to you. So then he gives up finally at this point, right? He's like, thanks a lot for the wishes. Have a safe journey back. And then I block him everywhere after about a week after I land back in Tokyo. Cause like not only, oh my God, just the audacity. Okay. If there's one thing that these guys have, it is audacity. Sounds like a low quality man. Yeah, I mean, probably, everyone has their own definition of low quality and high quality. To me, he fulfilled the need that I had in the moment. And I am thankful for him going out of his way to pick me up from the airport. I am thankful for the lunch that he bought me, the tea break that he gave me in his apartment. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry, but even with all of these things that he did for me, it's just not close to the value that I provide just by 1 hour of giving 1 hour of my company to a guy that would otherwise have no chance whatsoever of coming into close proximity with a woman like me, let alone have an entire hours-long conversation about the state of the economy in Dubai versus Japan versus China versus India. I even okay, I think this is where maybe this is like the final stage of getting out of male-centeredness, because like this whole time I think of these interactions with men, especially when I'm talking to men about business, I tend to think that I'm benefiting somehow because it's like, well, at least they're giving me some sort of value in terms of insider information or like, business know-how that I wouldn't previously have access to unless I talked to this person. But then after the fact, when I really look back on the conversations that I had, I'm like, what did these guys do for me though, except a bunch of mansplaining? Like all of the information, the insider information that we talked about during our discussion, it wasn't anything that I couldn't have looked up on my own or that chat GPT couldn't have told me. Like, unless a guy actually did something tangible for me, as in he went out of his way to set up an actual business for me or to get an actual business license for me in the UAE. Words from a guy are not really worth anything to me. Mansplaining is not worth anything. It's not worth my energy or my time whatsoever. And then to add insult to injury, the whole thing about like the nasty feeling that I couldn't shake the entire time about, is this your way of cheating on your wife without actually cheating on her? Because if I was your wife, I would not be okay with this. I would not be okay with my husband doing this under any circumstances. I have a feeling I wouldn't be surprised if his wife didn't even know that he had a couch surfing account, right? And I think my suspicions are confirmed by the fact that he avoided writing me a review on my page because he doesn't want to leave a digital footprint having crossed paths with me, right? Because if by any chance his wife were to find that receipt, I'm sure there would be a line of questioning he doesn't want to deal with from her about that. So at the end of the day, I was like, listen, I'm just going to do your wife a solid because I feel like I'm on her side in this whole thing. Like, thanks for the ride and everything, but at the end of the day, I'm always going to be on the woman's side. I'm always going to throw the man under the bus, especially if he's like going out of his way to disrespect you like that. No, blocked on everything. And no, you're not getting access to my friends. See, this is how insidious they are. Like, it's not enough to have access to you. They will try to use you to get access to other hot girls to boost their ego. Exactly. He's looking for a temporary ego boost. Thank you, videos. That's all it is for them. It's like, okay, well, fair enough, because we live in a free trade economy, but you're not even bringing enough to the table to pay for this ego boost that I can give you. Like I said at the beginning of this video, unless it's something tangible from now on, unless it's literal land or an actual like tangible, I don't know, promotion at my job that will bump my pay up at least 10%, 20%, unless it's a literal business connection, like you physically connect me to a guy that can help me set up business somewhere and create passive income, unless you're literally handing cash money to me in my hand, what do you have to offer me as an average guy? Or even as a slightly above average guy, as this guy was, because he had a couple of businesses in his name. Like, that's why he had the luxury to be able to, pick me up from the airport and spend 5 hours with me as we kill time to wait until my hotel check-in. Is it really worth my energy? And is it also worth the follow-up diffusing texts that I have to send him to let him down gently when he's trying to hang out with me every single other day of my vacation? Like, it's basically just I am inviting flies on my windshield that I have to keep swatting away at because they just won't die and they won't go away. I am all talked out, you guys. I'm out of breath and out of words, and this candle smells really good. So yeah, I'm at the point right now where I just can't even be bothered to deal with these men. Like, I would rather channel my energy into, that's another thing. I keep forgetting that I have more than one avenue through which I can make money. Like, I am monetized on YouTube. I have been monetized for a hot second, for years at this point, okay? I get AdSense money for just turning on my webcam and talking to you guys on YouTube. So why would I talk with a man for a free meal? Like, why would I spend all this energy that I could use to create content for my subscribers, which actually can help girls out there? It can help further the raising of the collective consciousness of the dark feminine. I would rather be putting all of my energy and my mental bandwidth towards that than some random dusty ass dude that has nothing to offer except a free ride and a meal. Like, are you kidding me? No, these dudes have to come with way, way more. You got to offer more than food, more than a ride somewhere. Even if you have a flashy car, I don't care if that car's not my name. What does that have to do with me? You know, like, it's still working towards the benefit of his image. If a guy is picking you up in his fancy car, well, then he's getting more points from society by having a pretty girl in his passenger seat on top of his flashy sports car or whatever.
Because you as the woman, we as the women never needed the flashy car in the first place. We don't need the flashy material items. We are the value ourselves. Like, this is kind of, the missing piece of the puzzle that I feel like I had an epiphany on this time around.
Where are the benefits for me in this situation? That's how I'm looking at every situation from now on. I think it's so funny because the moment that I finalized my new job and I signed the contract, I didn't even announce it anywhere. It's not reflected on my LinkedIn profile yet, but this guy that talks to me from time to time whenever he wants to recruit me for like a new cybersecurity position, he messaged me out of the blue. Like, I'm not kidding. The day after I signed the contract for my new job, he was like, "Oh, I have a new job opportunity for you that I want to talk to you about. Do you want to catch up over dinner?" I'm like, "Yeah, funny you should message me now because I literally just signed the contract and the ink has dried for my next gig. But sure, we can catch up over dinner." And then like he ends up canceling because he's sick. And then I end up canceling because I decided to go to Dubai the next week. He hasn't offered again to reschedule, but then he's been still like messaging with me sporadically from time to time. This is a LinkedIn contact, right? So this guy also approached me out of nowhere years ago under the guise of trying to help my career. Obviously he thinks I'm attractive, but he's never like crossed the boundary in terms of like, we strictly talk about career things. But again, there's no reason for him to talk to me except for the fact that he thinks I'm attractive, because I really don't contribute. Like, there's nothing that I could contribute to his career. Essentially, he's already like pretty high up there. He's much older than me. He's very established in his field. He's held high positions at a lot of Fortune 500 companies and whatnot. So there's no reason for him to like take such an interest in helping me further along my career, except for the fact that he finds me attractive aesthetically. But that being said, like, he's never crossed a boundary yet. But then, yeah, I was just messaging back and forth with him because he opened the lines of communication again by messaging me out of the blue, trying to offer me a new job. Somewhere along the way, I was like, wait a minute, you still haven't offered me even like a free dinner. Like, we were supposed to catch up in person. Because if I go meet with this guy, I would consider it worth my while because he would pick an actual like high class restaurant. He's at that caliber where he would take me to like a fine dining place. But then I'm like, okay, but we canceled a bunch of times because our schedules didn't match up, and then you haven't rescheduled, and now you're like trying to talk again. You're trying to talk to me and you're trying to siphon my energy for free. So then I basically just stopped talking. I stopped answering cold this morning. And it's not about anything salacious, it's just the typical usual business talk. But I'm like, why would I even talk to you about business though? Because you haven't helped me in my business. I'm the one that got my new job. Not only that, at this point is the dinner off the table too, because we couldn't get our schedules to align. So then why am I still talking to you? Like, stop. A flashy car is not real wealth and not a provider depending on age. Provider men are smart with money, not spending insanely on depreciating assets, and they want to buy buildings and grow companies. You know what a provider man is? A provider man is the man that wants to spend money on you. Because you could have a man that does all those things that you're describing right now, which I agree is a good, a healthy indicator of a man that knows what he's doing in life and he's trying to build something. That's all great. But if he is not inclined to spend on you in particular, then he's not a provider. He's just another man. If you can't offer me land or cash money or assets or, like you said, buildings, property, then why am I talking to you? I can buy myself a dinner. Are you dating with the intention to marry? I would like to get married eventually, but like I said, after this encounter in particular with that couch surfing dude who's married, my standards have gotten even more stringent because I'm just disgusted. Like, even the most family oriented guy that would never cheat on his wife, like he would never, actively seek out some sort of sexual relationship with another woman, they still be up to the shadiest shit like this. Like, I'm not going to deal if I get married and I have to deal with the possibility of my husband having some sort of like secret account where he meets up and does favors for pretty girls just to get his rocks off, like just to get an ego boost in the moment. I don't want that. Okay. I'm good. I will continue living in my humble little studio apartment, my nice little rent controlled $800 apartment that I can live in comfortably with my cat. I will continue doing that until I find a guy who truly impresses me and who truly is like spiritually ascended enough to not have to do all these low level, desperate scavenger like activities just to get their fix or to fill their oxygen tank of feminine. You should be getting that from me if I'm your wife. And if we're going through, something difficult in our marriage, because there's seasons of life, right? Like, if you're married to someone, you have to be there with them through the highs and lows of their life. When their relatives die, when their parents die, somebody could get cancer, all sorts of things. They could lose their job, or they could, lose an investment on something. They could have made a bad bet and lost a lot of money in something. You have to be there with them through the thick and the thin. I'm fine with that, right? If I find a quality man that I feel is worthy of me doing that for him, but he needs to be evolved enough to where like he would be able to voice to me if he's unsatisfied in some way in our marriage. Like, for example, if he feels like, okay, I'm being distant or I'm not giving him enough attention, or if we're like struggling to keep up the affection in our relationship because we're preoccupied with other difficult things that life has been throwing us. I need a man that is like, that has the communication skills to be able to come to me, his wife, right? The most important woman in his life, discuss that with me before he goes out and tries to like do cheap tricks to fill his oxygen tank with other women on the street. Even if he's not sleeping with him, even if he's not talking with him inappropriately, I don't see why you would need to do that behind my back, So it's like this experience with that guy from couch surfing again. I'm not trying to shit on or insult anybody's way of life. I mean, maybe his wife does know. Maybe she doesn't care. Maybe she does the same thing. That could also be possible. But it just revealed to me more and more of the type of dynamic that I don't want in my own relationship, if that makes sense. I'm like, okay, got it. Even this type of a marriage, which looks good on paper, like he's not cheating. He didn't say anything inappropriate to me. He didn't try to cop a feel. But even just the fact that he has an account on couch surfing, which his wife likely doesn't know anything about, and he uses it as a way to boost his ego. He uses it as a way to get in proximity with beautiful women, if not only under the guise of being a platonic help to them during their solo travels. I don't want any of that in my man, like if I have to get married and tolerate that, then I would rather not be married to a guy. If I'm getting married, it has to be 80% beneficial to me first and foremost, right? Emotional intelligence is very important.